Welcome again to Dave Blaze. And listen, we've got to congratulate you on George, CEO. And very remiss of me not to pick this one up, but there it is. And I believe the stock fell 30% on the same day.
No, yeah, of course, that was the intended purpose. No, but after many years in IT, which I'm still involved with internationally, now we're with George. It's going on a couple of years with George. It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. It's tough. I'll tell you why it's tough, Rodney. Because there's a lot of mis and disinformation out there, and people have been programmed into pretty much many people anyway on the right have been programmed mentally to not trust anything. Don't trust any agency, don't trust this, don't trust that, don't trust the other. And I mean it's constant. It's constant. So our approach is we only put out verifiable information, right? And it's tough going. It's tough going.
You were in your pomp, but late 90s. I mean, you were top of the pops, weren't you?
Well, yes and no. Even back then, John was having a hard time with the magazine. You know, it started off great guns, but then as time went on, the advertisers didn't want to advertise. This was happening. And the magazine business was very, very different in the late 90s. Plus, he had people with him that were constantly fighting him on the original intention for George Magazine, the original direction that he wanted to take George Magazine. And these people fought him. The original creative director left, and other people left, and so on. So, it was tough. It was tough, and so that's it. So now we have the mantle back up. The relaunch came a few years back, and we are picking up where John wanted to bring it the first time. Let's put it that way.
You've gone more Christian, I think, since those days.
Yes, right. And that was part of the original purpose. The original purpose was to include faith-based articles, particularly biblical teaching articles, along with politics and other stuff. But so we focused on that. I mean, not excessively. I mean, we have like maybe two articles on the Bible each month, but and the rest are on what's going on with the economy, what's going on with government, what's going on with culture as a whole. And all of the information, Rodney, is put out and it's verifiable. It's not, wackadoo stuff. You know, we're not telling you all sorts of craziness. That Amazon's going to deliver a pot of gold to your front door by drone delivery. You know, that's not going to happen. The U.S. dollar is doing better than ever. You know, the bad, terrible fiat currency. It's fiat. It's fiat, right? Nobody thinks that our dollar is, they say, oh, it's not backed by anything. It's just paper. It's not backed by, it's backed by the wealth of the United States. Why would we limit ourselves to only gold? I mean, that'd be stupid.
Well, listen, you're into crypto as well, aren't you?
We're into crypto. We like crypto, of course. We like the stable coins, the United States dollar coin. We like Ethereum. We like Bitcoin. Why not?
Nobody
XRP.
understands it, Dave. I've never heard anybody give an explanation.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rodney, because right now, if you go to georgemagazine.com, we have in a downloadable form, which you can read on any device and on your Kindle or whatever device you want, we have put out the crypto playbook. And it teaches you all about various cryptocurrencies, how they operate, your wallets, your hot wallets, cold wallets, whatever it is. And it's done in a method that is not technical, right? So, anybody will be able to understand this.
Okay, there we are. He's had his promo. We'll get him to start thinking now.
It was unexpected, or else I would have provided images and links and all of that stuff,
Yeah,
But
right.
thank you. I appreciate it because it's a big deal. We also, not for anything, we also just put out one on artificial intelligence called Ageless Tech because people in our age group are lost with all the artificial intelligence. And this book walks you through the various prompts, how to chat with the AI to get the most out of it. And then we do updates.
Very
So,
good. We'd better move on before he
yes,
gets convincing.
before I
And
rattle off all our products.
listen, we've got what is going on with the Straits of Hormuz? Every 5 minutes it's on, it's off.
All right, here we go. The Strait of Hormuz. The um, the president, the Trump administration, we flipped the script on the Iranians. In other words, they thought they were going to navigate all the ships going in and out of the strait and basically, as they've done for 47 years, hold the world hostage and all that. Okay. So the president said, no, 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 we're not going to play that game. We're going to block the strait. So we set all sorts of warships into the area, and we've set up a naval blockade. And no ship can enter or leave without the United States say so. Okay. So after several days of this, the Iranians cried uncle, and they put out a big statement. And this was just yesterday morning, frankly, here in the United States, just yesterday morning. Oh, the Strait of Hormuz is completely open. All ships can come in and out. And the stock market went crazy. The market was up almost 1,000 points. Oil had dropped down to $84 a barrel. Brent, I think, is a little higher, but not by much. And okay. But see, that's the trick. They've been doing this for decades. So what they figured was, we'll tell them the strait's open. They'll remove the naval blockade. The ships will go away. And we'll play the same thing we've always done. So that was their little trick. But guess what? Trump knows that and kept the naval blockade there. So great, they declared the strait open. But until they have full agreement to the deal with them, where no nukes, none of this other stuff, no enrichment of uranium and everything else, until that deal is signed, that naval blockade will stay in place. And just over the last few days, we've already turned back more than 14 ships.
The uranium is the key factor here, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the goals to get rid of
Yes.
that. But listen, they can easily get in a cave in the middle of their mountain area and start again. What's to protect it?
I'm sure that with this deal, well, first of all, we've eliminated their capabilities for at least 15 to 20 years, right? So for them to build back everything that's needed to enrich uranium, it's going to take them some time. That's number one. Number two is that I'm sure with whatever deal is going to be worked out, and once it's in place, there will be safeguards and inspections and everything else that will ensure that stuff. And knowing the Trump administration, at least for the next 3 years, if they try any funny business, we'll just come back and do the same thing all over again.
Now, Europe, in my opinion, is full of faux pacifists and also appeasers. I mean, Starmer and Macron are the leaders in this. Now, Starmer is having great problems in the United Kingdom. But I'm listening to a lot of things at the States. The States are not interested. And the reason they're not interested, it's been reported to me, is that politics in the States is tough. And this goes on every 2 minutes in the States.
Well, when you say what are you referring to precisely?
Basically, he's got to go. He's allegedly told lies continually in the 2 years nearly that he's been prime minister. And with the Mandelson affair and his appointment to DC, Peter Mandelson,
Yeah.
then there were lies around that. But you're not very interested because it goes on every 2 minutes, as I say. In the US, it's normal politics.
Okay, so what do you get? I mean, what are you getting at? That Starmer has to go?
Starmer has to go. But you look at people like Bill Clinton, my goodness me. In the UK, in any part of Europe, it'd have gone months before the Monica episode.
That's because, okay, so look, it's something that everyone has to take into consideration. When it comes to a president like Bill Clinton, and more so Trump, but not in the same way, but these are likable guys. Clinton, for all of his problems, was a very likable guy. He still is, you know? Trump, if you watch Trump, his interactions in the Oval Office and everything else, this is a likable guy. He was signing a big executive order this morning about psychedelic drugs. Big panel of people behind him, including Joe Rogan, Bobby Kennedy, and Dr. Oz, and so on, and a lot of really, really top level scientists in the field. And Trump was just as funny and charming as ever in this thing. So this is what the European leaders don't understand, that he can be like that on one hand, and then, go bomb the daylights out of some country on the other. And Europe is so, I don't know what this problem, I really don't know what the problem is with Europe. Is it that after World War II, you lost most of the men and the women took over? I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it's more of a maternal attitude than let's get tough here and get on the bandwagon, because what we're doing in Iran is going to benefit Europe more than anything else.
Well, it's DEI in Europe, diversity, equality, etc. And everybody's more interested in that. And it has a snowflake society, Europe in general, but especially in Great Britain. There's nobody with backbone.
Yeah. Yeah. What we were discussing the oil situation in Great Britain. Listen, I'm going to take this interview and I'm going to put it all over the place. Explain to people in the United States what the oil situation is in the UK.
There is a lot of oil in the North Sea and in the Northwest Atlantic that we in UK also own. So they've imposed a 78% tax on anything that comes out of there. So the oil companies think, wow, is it worth it with all the other taxes they have to pay? And if they drop the tax even to half that, there's a bonanza out there. And it's fantastic quality oil. It's not the deep, gluey stuff. And there's gas out there. And the stupidity is that, of course, we have our near neighbours drilling, and their drill pipes actually come into our territory. And we sort of, okay, then we don't mind a little bit. But
And
they,
who are your near neighbors that are doing this?
well, you've got Norway and the main one that is taking stuff out of there.
The
And they
Dutch, right?
allegedly, per capita, got the richest society in the world. There you go, because they will drill, baby drill. We've got stuff. If we started fracking, we'd have as much as the States.
So let me understand this. So the United Kingdom, even though you own the land that you could be drilling on, Instead, you're buying oil from basically the same land from the Netherlands and Norway.
And by the time it gets to UK, the carbon footprint has doubled. It doesn't make sense unless you look at the biggest picture of all. Where's all this come from? Well, in 1929, we got a start of cultural Marxism that's affected practically every country. And now it's destruction. There are two big hands coming out. One is Marxism, and the other is Islam. And they're crushing Europe, and both want to overtake the territory.
Right, right. Well, Islam has always wanted to overtake Europe. And it wasn't until the Pope, what was this? This was back in the 1300s. It wasn't until the Pope basically sent a letter to all the kings saying, "I'm going to revoke your mandate to rule unless you gather up your armies and fight these people back." And hence was born the Crusades. But this has been the way in Europe for centuries. They're just not, you know, standing up. Now, would you say that this could be possibly maybe one of the reasons why President Trump is actively trying to acquire Greenland?
The positive thing about that, of course, from the US point of view, is that you'll have a great defensive barrier there,
Sure, sure.
principally against Russia and who knows, China. But they've got a lot of mineral wealth there that you are relying on from China at the moment. China's got too much influence for any country in the world, including the US.
That's agreed. That's agreed. It always boggles my mind. Here we are. We have our automobile manufacturers switching over to electric vehicles.
Mm.
And we have more oil under our feet than anyone else. And we should be producing gas-powered cars exclusively. Now, of course, China, who does not have the oil, of course, they want everyone to drive around in electric vehicles because they have the minerals to make the batteries. So let them have the electric vehicles. We have the oil. Why would we ever not utilize the oil in favor of importing minerals from China? It just never make any sense to me.
Have you got the infrastructure in the States whereby this range anxiety, which is a big thing in Europe, there are not enough points you can plug in, and there is all sorts of restrictions. And you're driving along there, am I going to make it? It's not working in many countries in Europe.
Yeah, especially now when you watch television commercials. Oh, it's a snap. You're driving around. There's a charging station and all that. There's nothing. That's not built out here in the United States. I
Yeah.
don't care what Tesla and the rest of them say. That's not, no, no. Gas stations, yes. Charging stations, no, no,
That,
absolutely not.
that's
That's why
interesting.
nobody wants electric vehicles.
Right. Half the points on motorways in the United Kingdom are broken. You have to break your journey by 2 or 3 hours, and then it's more expensive to fill with electricity than even our ridiculously high prices for gas.
Right, right. And then okay, and then when you really start getting into it, what powers the electricity actually getting to the charging station? How is the electricity manufactured and all of that? And it all comes down to oil and coal.
You've got to look at the reality of it, Dave. Who's gaining by all this? Well, the guys at the top of the tree, the rich, big companies are
Right,
gaining hand over fist.
right, 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 right. So I like what President Trump is doing with the drilling, and it is I believe it was a stroke of genius to cut basically China's oil supply off. First, we go in and we take over Venezuela's oil. And we're selling Venezuela's oil with, we're wetting our beak a little bit and we're giving the rest of the money back to the Venezuelan people, but we're refining their oil. And now we've cut off Iran, who is also supplying China's oil. So now China, BRICS, the big BRICS nation, is having to buy oil in US dollars.
Yeah, there's a
Oh,
lot.
what a terrible thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of squaring of circles here if you do the math. And the reason for that is okay, 20% goes through Straits of Hormuz. That's already gone to 10%, actually, when you look at the two pipelines that are diverting this to the Red Sea. Now, 10% shouldn't cause complete havoc as it has done. So, there again, my suspicions are business, big business, is making big bucks out of the whole thing and exaggerating the problem.
Oh, 100%. But this is the type of narrative that the White House is pushing back against because those very what the apparently those very same ships that can't get in and out of the Strait of Hormuz now are just rerouting to our Texas and Louisiana ports, and that's where they're filling up. Or they can go to Caracas and buy oil from Venezuela.
Yeah, Trump, that suits Trump, doesn't it? Listen, the
Sure.
other thing we must mention
Yeah.
is the difference, again, stateside, between what interests the people watching programming, reading their newsprint. And you are disgusted as an American and the American public about the rape gangs in the United Kingdom. Even more so, dare I say, than a lot of newspapers in the United Kingdom. It's been going on for 30 years that principally Pakistanis coming into the country are raping young white girls. And it's kicked into the long grass here because it's politics. They want the Pakistani vote, which is now 7.5 to 8%. And if you're in a Pakistani family, you tell your wife or wives what to do, how to vote, who to vote for. They don't want to lose that vote, and that's more important than the indigenous population being raped. Now, you get it over there in the States. And of course, lots of people like ourselves get it, and we're always on the media saying, come on, sort this out. Nothing is done. There's inquiry after inquiry, and nothing is done. Is there anything that the states can do to help us?
Well, yeah, if you follow what President Trump has done over the last year and a couple of months, he's effectively closed our border. No one's coming in. I mean, if you're coming in, you really have to have your act together because otherwise, no. And we've been deporting people hand over fist. So this is what, for if you don't look after decades between the Clintons and Bush one and Obama, and then you had Biden in there and so on, with just an open border policy. A country can't just absorb immigrants. It doesn't work that way. They have to be processed in just like at any other time. They have to be made to be part of the system. They have to assimilate, right, and start contributing to the economy. You can't just let people come in and just bring them in. That's crazy talk. And this is what was going on for very much the same reason, Rodney, because these are the Democrat voters primarily. So we had to shut everything down, catch our breath, right? And now it's going to be up to Congress, the cowards in Congress, to design and redesign our immigration policy. because we need more judges, we need more guys on the border and everything. And then, of course, on the southern border, you got Mexico, and they got the cartel. They got like a paramilitary army just across the border, warring with our border patrol. At some point, we're going to deal with Mexico and the cartels. You know, it's not just going to be Venezuela and or Cuba, but Mexico's going to get in on the act. Well, we'll deal with the cartels, and it'll be swift. It's not going to be one of these things where they get to hang on for years and all of this stuff. It'll be the B-52s will go in there and completely annihilate their all their operations, and that'll be the end of it.
That's the drugs that you're referring to, I
Yes,
presume.
yes, the drug cartels. But this is the kind of protocols that Europe will have to do. And as long as you have these same type of politicians involved, I don't see how it's going to happen until it gets to a point where you have you have start having revolutions over there.
Britain, and I thought I would never say this, is on the cusp. You look at the beautiful villages in Britain, and they're putting illegal migrant hotels in there. The men are walking the streets and raping our girls and women.
Didn't just recently the Bridget Bardot Foundation do a sting against one or several of these types that were, since they couldn't find enough women to rape, they were raping sheep, and they had them all corralled with their legs tied. I mean, just an absolutely horrific thing. And this was in the hillside of France. And of course, they arrest the guy, and they arrested them, and they'll be, go to court or whatever it is. But this is the kind of lunacy that is being brought in um, to Europe on a regular. It's got to be on a regular basis over the last several decades, right?
There is no intention of stopping illegal migration. Starmer could do it straight away. We're a perfect place. We're an island. We can protect it better than the border in Mexico. We've
Right,
got so many islands on the Scottish coast. Trump can name them all that are not there. They don't get the best weather. They've not got the best services, but better than somebody fleeing from so-called persecution. If they opened two or three camps on those islands, it would stop them immediately. But
right.
no, they want four-star hotels. They want immediate medical help. They want iPhones. All this for nothing.
This has to be also a play to eliminate national borders so that there are no quote unquote countries. And then you just have that, what's always been talked about, just, one government over everything.
Yes, the world government. And you go to the Democrats and the socialists in Europe. And why do you vote socialist? Because you do you believe in democracy? Oh, yes, we believe in democracy. Well, look, the European Union, you cannot vote for anybody that heads that organization. That's not
Right,
democracy. You can't convince them they have been utterly gaslighted.
right, right. 100% true. Well, we'll just have to say next week, but when we get together next week, we'll cover what's going on with these international affairs and so on. But this is very, very interesting times. Let's keep our eye on Israel as well, because never before has Israel had such camaraderie. I mean, the Saudis and the United Arab Emirates and other countries are fighting alongside Israel with Iran. It's really an interesting time.
It is, and 37 years between the last talks with Lebanon
Right.
and Israel.
Lebanon can't handle Hezbollah, just
No.
like the Mexican government can't handle the cartels. They can't handle. They don't. They can't. They can't stop them. They can't. they're incapable of stopping. And that's why President Trump yesterday put out a statement that says that he is prohibiting Israel from any more bombing in Lebanon. Let the talks move forward. And the reason is he's luring Hezbollah into the trap. And the trap is they'll have some kind of agreement. Hezbollah will do what they normally do and break the agreement. And then that's the end of Hezbollah.
We await the good news. Thanks, Dave. We'll see you
All
next
right.
week.
All right.